So let's look at the shoe prints. I'm gonna put them right now on your screen and I'm looking at them in the same time. I'm going out right now, taking the Mach 4 and the Rebel V2, and I'm gonna do some measurements with the Run Scribe pods to see how all the metrics compare between the two shoes. Alright, so I'm done testing the Mach 4, have all the necessary data, and yeah, I'm in my garage, easier to switch shoes rapidly without going back home and you know, taking the elevators, putting the mask on. So switching shoes in the trunk and now going out with the Rebel V2. Right, I'm done with the testing for this morning. It's a bit chilly, so my hands are getting a bit cold. Let's go upstairs, have breakfast, and then in the paint cave to debrief the testing, see the data, and then do the shoe battle. See you upstairs. Hello everyone, how are you doing? My name is Alex, and yes, you asked for it, and so this is the video you were expecting. The shoe battle between the Hoka Mach 4 and the New Balance Fuel Cell Rebel V2. Here it is, coming at you. The two very exciting daily trainers for 2021. Early 2021, because who knows, maybe some other fantastic daily trainers will drop in the coming months, but so far we already have two of them that are fantastic and that I have included in my shoe rotation. As soon as I got them, I have more miles on the Mach 4, around 100 Ks, and a bit less on the Fuel Cell Rebel V2, only got it this week, so around 20-25 Ks on this one. But still, I think I have a good idea of how both shoes behave at different paces, for different purposes, and so I can give you an overview and a comparison between these two. Without no further ado, let's dive in. Not yet. Please make sure you subscribe, like, comment, ask questions, whatever you want. This is also your channel in a way, so you know, be actors of it, and please feel free to ask questions, chat in the comment section, like or dislike if you don't like the video, and of course subscribe if you want to follow the adventure. I'm more than happy to have you all with me. First, let me just remind you that in case you haven't seen it, there's a first impression review for this shoe. I'm gonna put it here, upper right hand corner. There's also a first impression review for the Rebel V2, same here, upper right hand corner. Don't hesitate, go check them out, maybe before the comparison, so you can get a first idea of what these shoes actually are, and then come back and check the comparison, or the other way around, as you prefer. I'm gonna put somewhere on the screen a scoreboard so we can follow which shoe has more points and which one wins at the end, the one I prefer, of course. Weight-wise, the Rebel V2 is lighter, around 20-25 grams lighter. This one comes at 255 grams in my size US 11, EU 45, and the Rebel V2 comes at 226, I guess. So yeah, 30 grams of difference. Point goes for the Rebel V2. Outsole, we are looking at very different patterns. On the Hoka Mach 4 you have an EVA rubberized outsole, quite firm, and it has that waffle pattern, nothing to complain about. It works well, it has decent traction, nothing outstanding but decent traction. Here on the Rebel V2 you have those
rubber pads placed a bit everywhere on the midsole that you can see actually at some places. And the rubber is softer than the EVA rubberized outsole on the Mach 4. It has, I would say, a good traction, nothing to complain about, but I would give the point to the Mach 4 for the outsole. Durability prediction, that goes also with the outsole, and here again I would tend to think that the Mach 4 will be more durable. Both shoes will go past 300-400 miles, but I would suspect the Mach 4 can go the distance and maybe go, you know, past 600 miles thanks to the thicker and more durable outsole it has. So point for the Mach 4. Now midsoles, we have two very different midsoles. Here you have the Pro-Fly midsole from Hoka, and here you have that fuel cell, sort of, you know, nylon inspired midsole by New Balance. Very soft, bouncy, responsive midsole. Here you have something more traditional, cushioned, on the firm side of cushion. Very pleasant rides, but quite different in terms of shape. You have a bit of a rocker type of geometry on the Mach 4, less so, or at least you don't feel it as much on the Rebel V2. I would tend to give the point to the Rebel for the midsole. It's a very pleasant ride, and I really like the ride of the Mach 4, and the midsole of the Mach 4 works very well. But here it's more joyful, more fun, and the midsole of the Rebel V2 works quite well for me. So point for the Rebel V2. Upper, we are looking at two very nicely designed uppers, and even, you know, looking broader picture than 2021, those two uppers are really great. Both uppers are really thin, breathable at the same time. The Rebel V2 upper is a bit more stretchy, and therefore you have a slightly wider toe box and a roomier volume overall here on the Rebel V2. The Hoka isn't narrow by any means, neither the platform nor the upper and the fit, but the upper is less stretchy. It's still very thin, very breathable, very nicely done, but let's give the point to the Rebel for the upper. Heel counters, you have a way more pronounced heel counter here, wrapping the Achilles on the Mach 4, and less so on the Rebel V2. The fabric of the V2 here on the heel counter could make you think that the heel will be slippery. It's not, it's nicely wrapped and it works well. I have a decent lockdown on the Mach 4, but it's not as good as on the Rebel, so here as well, point goes for the Rebel. Now for the fit, I already touched upon this. I went true to size with both shoes, and I have no fit issues at all with either of them. The fit is more forgiving with the Rebel V2. It has that not so structured upper, which really allows for, you know, some room and some movement in the forefoot and midfoot, while still having a good lockdown. So no issues on the lockdown and still a good fit. The fit of the Hoka, and that's important for people who had issues with narrow fits on the Hokas, is fine. It isn't wide, but it's wider than other Hokas. You may want to consider both shoes, and especially people with wider fits, they have the regular Rebel V2 for them, but also the wide version that they can really consider. Now, looking at the tongue of the two shoes, the one of the Rebel V2 is slightly thinner and maybe more breathable. Both tongues wrap very nicely the upper of your foot. However, yeah, the Hoka Mach 4 tongue has something very nice to it. I cannot explain. It's thicker than the Rebels, but it works very nicely. It doesn't go too high around the foot, and it has some nice comfort, so I would go Mach 4 for the tongue. Laces, that's no question here. The laces of the Mach 4 do not work for me. They're too thin, and I will go with the laces of the Rebel, which do not have anything outstanding to them, but they work better for me than the ones of the Mach 4. Before discussing the ride and the different purposes for these two shoes, let's quickly discuss the price. Here in Europe, both shoes come at 140 euros, so it's a tie. I do believe, however, that in the US, the Rebel V2 is slightly cheaper than the Mach 4, $10 difference, 120, 130 or 130, 140. Please confirm or you know, let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. I may be wrong. So it's almost a tie. If the Rebel is cheaper, then Rebel, but overall, even for a $10 difference, it's a tie. And now the ride, and that's where it's gonna become very interesting. These two shoes have very different rides, very different type of feelings. Okay, quickly throwing words at you. Firm, but not hard. Control, rocker, distance, stability. Bounciness, plush, fun. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's difficult just saying one word and describing a whole feeling, sensation. But yeah, the Hoka is more stable. You can go, I would say, for longer rides with it. Not necessarily pick up the pace very fast paces, but still you can go tempo days with this shoe. The Rebel is more versatile, but on the other hand is also less forgiving, less stable, and although it can go threshold intervals without any issue, it's not necessarily the shoe that I would pick for this type of high paces. There are other better shoes suited for those paces. So the ride is very difficult to tell them apart. That's two very different rides, but my preference would go for the Mach 4, I guess, simply because the Rebel V2 is a little bit too plush for me. I'm using more energy to keep up the same pace, or with the same amount of power, I can go a bit faster with the Mach 4. So yeah, I would tend to go for the Mach 4 in terms of ride. And now, very interesting, thanks to the RunScribe pod that I have here, I'm able to show you the shoe prints for the two shoes. So let's look at the shoe prints. I'm gonna put them right now on your screen and I'm looking at them in the same time. So as you can see, we have more orange color on the Rebel V2. That means more impact on the contact with the ground. So more ground feel, but also higher impact for your muscle, joints, and the whole, you know, lower limbs. As you can see, the contact on the Rebel V2 also go a bit lower, and indeed the data of the RunScribe pods confirm that I am striking a bit more on the forefoot with the Mach 4. So now other metrics that I will put on the screen right now are, first of all, pronation angles. I am pronating a bit more, 1 degree, 1 additional degree with the Rebel. So here it just confirms that the Rebel is a bit less stable and that I am slightly more pronating with the Rebel. The time between max pronation and toe off is interesting because this time shows us how bouncy a shoe is. The lower, the better. And here, no surprise, the Rebel has a lower MP to TO, so max pronation to toe off time, and it means it's bouncier, which just confirms the sensations that I described. And overall contact time is a bit lower as well on the Rebel, which also makes sense. It's a more energetic ride and you have a lower contact time on the ground compared to the Mach 4. However, in terms of power, at the same pace, so I tested the shoes at 4 minutes and 45 seconds per kilometer. That's around 8 minutes per mile or 750, somewhere that ballpark. The Mach 4 consumes less energy for the same pace compared to the Rebel. That's due to the fact that you have more of that cushion here on the Rebel, and therefore you lose more energy to sustain the same pace. I hope you enjoyed integrating some data from the RunScribe pods in the comparison. I haven't put too much of them because I don't want to bother you and people who are not interested with those metrics right now, but if you enjoyed it, please let me know and I will try to make something more comprehensive, including more data and maybe explaining them a bit better in the next shoe battle. That's one of the reasons I have those pods. It's to make the shoe reviews better and more objective, not just the feeling, but also some data. So let me know if you're interested in that. I'm more than happy to develop this aspect of the battles. So now, moment of truth. Which shoe is my favorite for 2021? Very difficult choice, very tough, but just because the Rebel V2 is a touch too cushioned and too plush, especially cushion is not an issue, but it's a bit too plush before returning the energy, which the Hoka doesn't have for an issue, I'm gonna go for the Mach 4. Now, to be honest, I'm gonna pick a winner this time and not call it a tie. So Mach 4 is the winner for me, but I'm pretty sure if at the end of 2021 you ask me and all the runners who tried both shoes in the year, it's gonna be a tie. It's gonna be 50-50 preferring the Mach 4 and the Rebel V2. So if you can, I can only encourage you to go to your local shop, try both shoes and make yourself an opinion on them, because they're great shoes for 2021, fantastic daily trainers at very reasonable price points. I hope this video was useful for you. Another shoe battle on the channel. We have other shoe battles here in the playlist, upper right hand corner. I wish you all a very good day. Have a good run, a good ride, or just enjoy being outside in the sun if possible. If not, you know, maybe indoor training is an option. Whatever, just have fun and take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.